Please give a warm welcome to our 8 survivors. Will everyone please rise for the presentation of colors by the FDNY Ceremony Unit Color Guard, followed by the EMS Pipes and Drums. Will everyone please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by firefighter Brian Robinson. Oh. Take that back. It's on you.
Detail is Luke.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were glad, the bomb bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the heart of the brave.
Thank you, Firefighter Robinson. Please remain standing for the Invocation by FDNY Chaplain Reverend Pamela Holmes.
Detail uncovered.
Let us bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Oh God, we gather in this space knowing that you are a benevolent God and a merciful God, a God who affords second chances, a God who believes in restoration. And for this, we are genuinely grateful. Today we gather in honor of those who have been given a second chance at life, survivors who today have come to know that they are being renewed daily. We pray that as survivors, they will continue to appreciate new life in a more loving and grateful way, and that you, oh God, will continue to love, cover, and protect them. We gather also to just give thanks to the men and women of EMS and the FDNY who continue to place their lives on the line for the people of New York. We thank you, O God, for their commitment and ask that as they live out scripture that explains there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for friends, that you will continue to bless them also. We thank you, O God, for your faithfulness and that your word is never changing. And for all of this, O God, we say thank you. We say thank you. We say thank you. And finally, oh God, we will just simply ask that you would bless the meal that is going to be set before us. May this meal, oh God, nourish our bodies and strengthen our spirits, and may our conversations be filled with love, gratitude, and celebration. And let us all say, amen.
Detail, Rico.
Thank you, Reverend Holmes. Please retire the colors. Will everyone please be seated? Good morning. I am Captain Randy Lee, Commanding Officer of Station 32, and it is my pleasure to serve as the Master of Ceremonies. I would like to welcome you all to the 28th Second Chance Ceremony, where cardiac arrest survivors are reunited with their EMS and fire rescue teams. After the ceremony, we will be enjoying brunch, where the survivors and rescuers will have an opportunity to get further reacquainted. I want to take a moment to introduce the members of our dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please hold your applause until the end while I say each distinguished member's name. Fire Commissioner Laura Kavanaugh. Chief of Department John Hodgins. First Deputy Commissioner Joseph Pfeiffer. Chief of Staff Luis Martinez. Chief of EMS Operations Michael Fields. Chief of Fire Operations John Esposito. Chief of Training Thomas Correo. Assistant Chief of EMS Operations Paul Miano. Assistant Chief Fire Operations Kevin Woods. Chief Fire Marshal Daniel Flynn. Queensborough Commander Joseph Ferrante. Deputy Commissioner Don Nguyen. Deputy Commissioner Dr. Kwame Cooper. Chief of Planning Frederick Villani. Chief of EMS Academy Tanya Boyd. Deputy Assistant Chief City Central Operations Stacy Scanlon. Deputy Assistant Chief, City North Operations, Ian Swords. Deputy Assistant Chief, City South Operations, Joseph Pataki. Deputy Assistant Chief of EMS Operations, Grace Cacciola. Deputy Assistant Chief of EMS Operations, Roberto Colon. Deputy Assistant Chief of Emergency Medical Dispatch, Denise Werner. Assistant Commissioner, Michelle Maglione. FDNY Chaplain, Reverend Pamela Holmes. Health Policy Special Advisor to Fire Commissioner, Dr. David Perzant. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Glenn Aceda. Uniform EMTs, Paramedics, and Fire Inspectors President, Oren Barzilay. Superior Officers Association President, Kathleen Newth. Please also join me in welcoming our chiefs, our physicians, commissioners, union officials, family and friends, and of our honored guests. I want to give a very special welcome to our host for this wonderful event, Mr. Matthew Pinchik. Matthew, could you raise your hand up for a second? Sir. Matt has been a generous friend and donor to the FDNY since his father was saved while suffering cardiac arrest back in 1980 by FDNY EMTs and paramedics. The incident led him to become an EMT himself. His family's support led to the second chance ceremony as we know it now, as well as a medal in his father's memory that's shared during Medal Day. Matt, we cannot thank you enough for what your family has done for the fire department, the loyalty, the dedication, and just generosity to the department. Sir. Additional thanks and acknowledgement go to the FDNY Foundation, of course, for their support in making this annual event possible. And now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Fire Commissioner, Laura Kavanaugh.
Good morning. It's a good morning, right? The Second Chance Ceremony really is the highlight of EMS Week, illuminating the exceptional dedication and skill of our EMS members who perform miracles every single day. I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone here, and especially the 8 patients and their rescuers, EMS members, firefighters, and bystanders who gave them their second chance at life. Annually, FDNY EMS responds to an astonishing 1.6 million medical calls every year. In the face of urgency and desperation, our EMTs, paramedics, officers, and dispatchers provide hope. They are the calming presence at the other end of the line, guiding panicked family members and directing help to them. Arriving on the scene, our EMTs, paramedics, and officers deliver emergency care, stabilizing patients and transporting them to the hospital. And usually, they're on to the next call, the next emergency, unaware of the outcome of the lives they've touched. At the Second Chance Ceremony, we get clearly to see the results of these heroic actions. A 77-year-old runner who collapsed on the Verrazano Bridge at the start of last year's New York City Marathon, who not only recovered but is looking forward to racing again. A father who went into cardiac arrest at home, whose son's friend, an FDNY youth program student, administered CPR with the aid of a dispatcher until EMS arrived. A 12-year-old boy running in gym class who went into cardiac arrest. It took the efforts of firefighters and EMTs to pull him through. Shortly, you're going to be introduced to all of our patients, and you'll hear more about the details about what happened to them and the extraordinary effort taken to give them their second chance. You will marvel that they are here, and when you see them with their families, you will just see how much that rescue meant. And on a personal note, I want to mention that we had our very own close call in our fire department family last Friday when a firefighter was pulled unconscious and not breathing out of a fire. And for all of us who got that phone call, we felt that same drop in the pit of our stomach that family feels when they get that bad phone call, those same minutes that felt like hours and hours that felt like weeks until we knew he would be okay, and that same sense of relief when we heard from the doctors that he had come around, and the absolute joy and certainly a lot of tears when he walked out of the hospital on Sunday, which you can hear in my voice. So I want to say, to all of our members, we have felt what these families in front of us are feeling so recently, and we don't often stop and think about the sheer gratitude and relief and joy you bring to somebody's family every day, but certainly we were reminded on Friday because we felt it ourselves. So let's give everybody who does that every day a round of applause. It is truly a miracle that we make miracles seem so easy and like everyday occurrences. Since it began more than 25 years ago, the Second Chance ceremony has reunited more than 200 patients with the remarkable men and women who saved their lives. On this day, we celebrate the lives saved and also the immeasurable compassion, skill, and dedication that define our EMS community. If you've ever talked with any one of our members, they are the humblest people you will ever meet. They don't think of themselves as heroes or don't think that what they do is extraordinary. It is simply the job they signed up to do. But their split-second decisions, their compassion, and the skillful medical interventions are truly awe-inspiring. The proof is in the first row here, the patients who survived thanks to their efforts. Thank you for being here. It means a lot to us because you serve as a reminder of why they do what they do and put their lives on the line every day. I'd also like to thank the FDNY Office of Medical Affairs for the hard work, research, and correspondence they do year-round to make today's reunions possible. And I also want to reiterate the thanks that Randy gave at the top of this to the FDNY Foundation that funds so many of our special events, to the Pinchik family, Matt especially, for making this event possible, and for everybody who is with us today, including our special events team, our EMS Week Committee, the ceremonial unit, and everybody who makes today seem easy and beautiful. We're so grateful to all of our first responders for your skill, training, and compassion. You are the lifeline of the communities you serve, and I hope this day reinvigorates you and reinforces how vital you are to this city. Thank you for what you do, and stay safe.
Thank you, Commissioner Kavanaugh. Our next speaker is Chief of Department John Hodgins.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Each year, I am amazed by this ceremony. Looking at these 8 individuals who are alive today reminds me of why we all do this job. It is not often that first responders get to meet the people whose lives they saved. But when they do, it truly is a very special moment. We have some amazing stories to tell today. And we also have dozens of rescuers, EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, dispatchers, and fire and EMS officers who each play a critical role in saving the lives of our guests. When our members respond to an emergency, they know that someone is in need of their help. From the dispatchers to the EMTs and paramedics, the engine companies, each person is prepared for a life-threatening emergency. Today's ceremony is not just about celebrating survival. It is about acknowledging the chain of survival, the quick thinking and bravery that epitomizes the spirit of the FDNY. Each survivor's story is a testament to the power of immediate action. Every individual trained in CPR is a potential lifesaver, a critical link in the chain of survival. Each link in this chain is vital, and the entire chain depends on the strength of each individual link. The series of actions, from the immediate response of bystanders to the advanced care provided by our first responders and medical professionals, ensures the highest chance of survival and recovery possible for each person in distress. The stories we celebrate today are living proof of that chain in action. I'm extremely proud of the members that saved the lives of our guests. And like everyone here, I'm excited to hear your stories and see the reunions we've all been waiting for. So thank you to the FDNY Office of Medical Affairs for all they do to create these special reunions year after year. And I'd like to thank the FDNY Foundation for their generous support as well, and especially our great friend Matt Pinchik. The Pinchik family helps to make this wonderful ceremony what it is each year, and we are very grateful for their support. Thank you all for joining us, and to all the FDNY members gathered here today. Congratulations, stay strong, keep up your outstanding work. God bless everybody, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hodgins. Please welcome to the podium Dr. Glenn Aceda, who will introduce the survivors to their rescue teams.
Good morning. I am once again extremely delighted to join you at this morning's ceremony. As the Commissioner mentioned, this event is certainly always one of the highlights of EMS Week, where we are able to reunite cardiac arrest survivors with their rescuers. We are so happy to have you all join us. It is my absolute pleasure to bring together our special guests with their rescuers and share their amazing stories. On Wednesday, October 18, 2023, 72-year-old Michael Allen was playing tennis in Astoria Park. After about 30 minutes, he began to feel winded and stopped playing. As he stood alongside the court, ironically, he started talking with another player about how people had died on the tennis court. Minutes later, he unexpectedly collapsed. Bystanders quickly sprang into action and alerted a doctor on a nearby court. Dr. Mir Kabira immediately rushed to Mr. Allen's side and quickly began CPR and directed bystanders to call 911. He performed several rounds of CPR with the help of Mr. Mirko Spajic until first responders arrived on scene. Station 49 paramedics arrived quickly, determined that Mr. Allen was indeed in cardiac arrest. They took over CPR, attached their defibrillator, and delivered one shock. Station 49 EMTs and a lieutenant, along with members from Engine Company 312, arrived on scene next to assist with care. They continued CPR, and a second shock was delivered. After more than 20 minutes of resuscitative efforts, Mr. Allen finally had a pulse and was fully alert when he was loaded into the ambulance. The paramedics determined that he was having a heart attack and transported him to Mount Sinai Queens Hospital. Mr. Allen was admitted to the hospital for nearly a month and underwent coronary artery bypass surgery and aortic valve replacement. He has recovered well and enjoys traveling to Massachusetts to visit his daughter. He is extremely grateful to be alive today. Mr. Allen, please come on up to meet your rescuers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna ask you to go this way, and we're gonna go for another picture. On Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, 54-year-old John Kearns went out for an early morning cigarette and suddenly became nauseous and started vomiting. His wife immediately came to his aid and went to get ice from the kitchen. She returned to find that Mr. Kearns had collapsed to the floor. He was unresponsive, so she dialed 911. The dispatcher, EMT Kevin Urena, recognized that Mr. Kearns was likely in cardiac arrest. Mrs. Kearns advised dispatcher Urena that she had learned CPR many years ago, but had never performed it. Dispatcher Urena skillfully guided her through the process, and Mrs. Kearns performed CPR until first responders arrived. Firefighters from Engine 216 were first on scene and quickly determined Mr. Kearns was in cardiac arrest. They took over CPR, delivered one shock with the defibrillator. Station 35 paramedics, EMTs, and a lieutenant arrived on the scene. They applied the Lucas device, placed a breathing tube, established an IV, and administered a variety of resuscitative medications. Mr. Kearns was shocked to the defibrillator a total of 5 times. After extensive effort, he finally regained a pulse, but remained unresponsive. He was rapidly transported to Woodhull Hospital. He remained in the hospital for 6 days and had a stent placed in his heart during his stay. He is fully recovered and is forever grateful for his second chance. Mr. Kearns says the FDNY is their second family. In January 2023, 12-year-old Dylan Garcia was running in gym class at school when he suddenly fell forward and hit the floor face first. School staff quickly called 911. Firefighters from Engine 293 were first on scene. They assessed Dylan and determined that he was in cardiac arrest. They started CPR, applied a defibrillator, and delivered one shock with no change in his condition. Paramedics from Station 45, a lieutenant from Station 49, and EMTs from Long Island Jewish Medical Center arrived on scene to assist. Together, they continued CPR and delivered a second shock. Dylan regained his pulse, and units quickly established an IV, placed a breathing tube, and rapidly transported him to Jamaica Hospital. Dylan was stabilized and then transferred to Cohen's Children's Hospital. Doctors found he was suffering from acute myocarditis secondary to a COVID-19 infection. Dylan has made an excellent recovery and has returned to school full-time. His family expresses tremendous gratitude for his second chance. In December 2023, 61-year-old Sotirios Gornis was home hanging Christmas decorations when he felt an unusual pressure in his chest. He continued decorating but began to feel dizzy. Mr. Gornis headed down to his basement to get some water and rest, but didn't feel any better. He instructed his daughter, Georgia, to call 911. The EMS dispatcher instructed him to lie down while they waited for first responders. Station 49 paramedics, EMTs, and a lieutenant arrived on scene in minutes. They found Mr. Gornis fully alert and lying on the floor, complaining of chest pain and dizziness. The crews quickly performed an EKG and determined he was having a heart attack. They began to administer medication to help with the symptoms. As they were transporting him to the ambulance on a stretcher, Mr. Gornis became unresponsive and went into cardiac arrest. The crew started CPR and quickly delivered one shock, and Mr. Gornis regained consciousness and was fully alert. They rapidly transported him to Mount Sinai, Queens for treatment. He was rushed to the cardiac cath lab upon arrival to the emergency department and had one stent placed in his heart. He remained in the hospital for just 3 days and made a full recovery. Mr. Gornis greatly thanks the first responders who saved his life that day. On the morning of November 5th, 2023, New York City Marathon runner Yi-Joo Kwon was dropped off at the starting point by his daughter, Elaine. The 77-year-old was excited to run the marathon that morning and began sending selfies to his friends and family from the starting line. Just as Mr. Kwon began his run, he collapsed without warning on the upper level of the Verrazano Bridge. Now, Mr. Kwon, we are so happy that you did so well and are joining us today, and we are always happy to help. But most of our runners who seek medical assistance during the marathon usually contact us after they've at least first crossed the bridge. But all kidding aside, we are there no matter where. A special event BLS unit was first to arrive on scene. They quickly determined that Mr. Kwon was in cardiac arrest and began CPR. The crew attached their AED and delivered one shock. Station 23 EMTs and an additional special event unit with paramedics arrived to assist with care. They attached their EKG monitor and established an IV. Mr. Kwon had a pulse, but his heart was beating very slowly. The members administered additional medication to stabilize him and transported him to Staten Island University North Hospital. Mr. Kwon was admitted to the hospital for 5 days and had several stents placed in his heart during his stay. He has fully recovered since and plans to run in future marathons. In his lifetime, he has completed nearly 250 marathons, including a 3,500 run from Los Angeles to New York City over 3 months in 2010, which he did for charity. Mr. Kwon and his family are forever grateful to the heroes whose efforts have allowed him to continue running. On a cold day in January 2023, Miss Raynell McCune and her sister Onisha decided they were going to wash their dog Carter in the bathroom. Shortly after that, 19-year-old Raynell began having a severe asthma attack and called out to her sister. Ronisha found Raynell sweating profusely and struggling to breathe. She called 911 and began CPR with guidance from dispatcher EMT Melvin Avilés. Station 13 EMTs arrived first and quickly assessed Raynell. They confirmed she was in cardiac arrest, took over CPR, and attached their AED. Engine 69, Station 14 paramedics, and a Station 16 lieutenant arrived soon after to assist. CPR was continued while they established an IV, administered resuscitative medications, and placed a breathing tube. After 36 minutes of resuscitative efforts, Raynell regained her pulse but remained unconscious. She was rapidly transported to Harlem Hospital and began to wake up upon arrival at the emergency department. Raynell was admitted to the hospital for 5 days and remained intubated for several days after. Before this event, Raynell had never been intubated nor had such a severe allergic response to her dog. Fortunately, her sister Ronisha had previous CPR training because she worked with children. Raynell has made a full recovery since and is back to enjoying life once again. They are both incredibly grateful for her second chance at life. On January 22, 2022, 58-year-old Wilfredo Ruiz collapsed in his home. His wife, Gladys, found him and quickly alerted her son, Freddie. Freddie's roommate, Cesar Reyes, from the FDNY Youth High School program, arrived at the house. Freddie called 911, and Cesar started CPR with guidance from dispatcher EMT Dylan Garcia. Station 39 paramedics were first to arrive and determined Mr. Ruiz was in cardiac arrest. Engine 290, Kingsbrook Jewish Hospital EMTs, and a Station 59 lieutenant and EMT arrived on scene. They continued CPR, established an IV, and placed a breathing tube. They attached the defibrillator and delivered a shock. They continued their intensive resuscitative efforts, and after nearly 20 minutes of efforts, Mr. Ruiz regained his pulse. He was rapidly transported to the hospital. Mr. Ruiz was admitted to Brookdale Hospital for nearly a month. During his stay, he had a stent placed and an internal defibrillator implanted. The event inspired Mr. Ruiz's daughter, Desiree, so much that she enrolled in the FDNY Youth High School program and is currently a student there today. Mr. Ruiz expresses great gratitude to all the first responders who saved his life that day and hopes his story will encourage more community youth to join the FDNY program to become first responders. On Sunday, January 22nd, 2023, 56-year-old George Yi and his wife Isabel parked their car near their home after a long morning of shopping. As Mr. Yi exited the car, he collapsed in the street without warning. Nearby bystanders came to his aid immediately and called 911. Mr. Yi, perhaps you might have seen the shopping bill. I'm not sure. Engine 205 arrived first, applied their AED, and delivered 2 shocks with no change to Mr. Yi's condition. Station 32 EMTs arrived and continued CPR and delivered a 3rd shock. Mr. Yi regained a pulse after 8 minutes of effort. Station 32 paramedics arrived and placed an IV, performed an EKG, and stabilized Mr. Yi before rapidly transporting him to Brooklyn Hospital. Mr. Yi was admitted to the hospital and had 1 stent placed. He has fully recovered since and has returned to work. He is so grateful to all the first responders who helped save his life that day and knows their quick response made it possible. Please come on up to meet your responders and rescuers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a second picture right this way.
We're just going to give them a moment to get their photo and come back to their seats. So again, Dr. Aceta, thank you for those incredibly moving stories. And now I would ask everyone to please rise for the benediction to be delivered by FDNY Chaplain Reverend Pamela Holmes.
Detail, let go.
Let us look to the Lord. Oh God, we pause to acknowledge your sovereignty over our lives. We thank you, oh God, for the rescuers and survivors present with us today. We call upon you, oh God, and ask that you would extend your blessings upon us, give us peace, and give us love, and allow this benediction to rest upon us all this day. Let us go forth into the world with new dedication to life. And now may the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hands of God protect us. May the way of God direct us. And may the love of God go with us this day and forever. Amen. And so it is.
Detail, Rico.
Thank you, Reverend Holmes. Everyone, please be seated. We would like to thank everyone for coming in for today's event, especially our honored guests, the survivors. It means, please, yeah. It means so much to the rescue teams to meet those whose lives they have directly impacted, and to the rescue teams who perform these remarkable saves. Keep up the good work. I will ask that the rescuers please remain seated until the survivors have exited. You will be joining them shortly downstairs. This concludes the ceremony. We will now move downstairs for brunch. The ceremony officers will now direct the dais members, the survivors, and their guests downstairs. Thank you again. Enjoy the brunch. Have a great day.